All right, guys, welcome back. If anybody's there, say hello. I just got done listening to a Linux Mint podcast called Mintcast. These guys have been doing it for quite a few years now. I thought I would share with you tonight a little bit of their discussion on ransomware. You might find it interesting. This is another unscheduled live event. I'm really getting bad at this, aren't I? But we'll see who shows up tonight. I'm testing this. I'm actually running this for the first time in OBS broadcaster software. We'll see if anybody shows up. If anybody's there, say hello. Don't be shy. If nobody says hello, I'm leaving. In the meantime, if you want to, you can check out mintcast.org. Stefan, hello. Thank you for stopping by. How are you? Jeffnet, hey. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm looking at the stream. It looks like it's okay. I'm assuming you guys can hear and see this okay. And anybody say yes or no? And I have to ask, has anybody been hit with ransomware? Anybody that you know? I'll play the discussion on the Mintcast here in a few minutes. You guys might find it interesting, loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I personally have never been hit with virus. Well, I've been hit with the virus in the past, but I've never been hit with ransomware. It's a very nasty piece of, well, software that apparently some folks, some hackers are making money off of this. So again, the website, if you want to check it out, it's mintcast.org. Discussions vary. It's of course usually 90% Linux, some other news, some Windows. I've been listening to it for the last at least 5 years, maybe more. I can't really say it's a podcast for newbies to Linux. Not that it's bad, but I found it kind of interesting. More of a podcast if you've gone beyond, beginners Linux and wanted to get more information about what's going on in the world of Linux. Not just Linux Mint, which is a great distribution, by the way, for beginners. Definitely check out Linux Mint. I recommend all the versions of Linux Mint for beginners, except possibly I would probably stay away from Debian. Not that it's not any good, but for beginners I would say no. So it is 8:51. I'll tell you what I will do. We'll wait until 9 p.m. Then I'll play about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes of that podcast. All of us can listen to it. And you guys let me know what you think. But it was informative, it was entertaining, and ransomware is not going to go away. As long as people keep using XP, pirated software, outdated software, ransomware is not going to go away. And even though I feel safer in Linux, Linux is not completely oblivious to malware. So you guys watching this, which Linux distros do you use, or do you use any Linux? If you only use Windows, that's okay, because I dual boot Windows and different versions of Linux, so it's no big deal. Just downloaded Ubuntu Mate today. I think I might install it in my test laptop. Linux Mint at work, OS X, Windows, CentOS. Oh, okay, for production. Very good. Shaftnet, which version of Linux Mint? I'm going to guess Mate, or is it something different? And I have to ask you, Shaftnet, of what you use, 17 LTS. Okay. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer Linux, Windows, Mac, CentOS? Do you have a personal preference at home? I guess is a better question. Which one do you prefer, or do you like all of them? Cinnamon. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. I'll give this a few more minutes. See if anybody else joins in, and then I will start playing uh, the Mintcast podcast at about the 12-minute mark, and we can all listen to it. And if you guys want to post your comments as you're listening, I will reply to them. I'll just type it in. No preference. Okay, cool, cool. Of course, I use Windows 10. I use Linux Mint when I dual boot on the main machine. On my spare desktop, I have KDE or Kubuntu, of course, with KDE Plasma. I still have Ubuntu Unity in one of my laptops, but since that's going away, I will have to change that to something. I don't know what yet. I'm going to install Ubuntu Mate in my other laptop, and I have Linux Mint in my older ThinkPad. I actually have a ThinkPad in the garage from 2004 or 5. That one just has a 30 gigabyte hard drive. That has PC Linux OS. I forget. I think it's LXDE, super lightweight. That machine has less than a gig of RAM, so it can't really do much. So yeah. But yeah, I definitely like ThinkPads. They're awesome. Has anybody ever listened to mintcast.org? Just out of curiosity. If you haven't, that's okay. In fact, that may be even better. You might be in for a surprise tonight. Linux Mint, easier for cluster SH and Docker. Okay, all right. Sounds reasonable, Chefnet. I don't expect a lot of people to tune in tonight. Again, this is unscheduled. I've noticed in the past when I schedule something, we tend to have quite a few more people, but that's okay. So, like I said, I just got done listening to the Midcast podcast, and I thought you guys might find it interesting. So I thought, let's listen to this together. Why not? Well, I'll give it another minute here, and I'll start playing it at the point where I think it'll start. And if you guys can't hear or have a question, just go ahead and post it in the chat, and I will try to answer it for you guys. But hopefully you will enjoy it as much as I did, or at least that section of it. The whole podcast is, I'm guessing, about an hour or 45 minutes. It's a bit long, to be honest. But that portion of the ransomware I thought was kind of cool to listen to. All right, so let's do this. Let me go ahead and mute my mic, and I will start playing the podcast, and hopefully we can all listen to it. If you guys can't hear, just let me know. I will monitor chat. So here we go.
So, general news. I think you'd have to be from another planet or living under a rock or something to not have heard about this NSA-derived ransomware worm that is shutting down computers worldwide. I thought, okay, well, you just can't ignore something like that. You got to talk about it, right? So it's the most fun part of, if there can be a fun part, and I realize this is a serious topic, but the funnest part of this serious topic is the passion and the emotion that's in the reporting that you get. So you get stuff like a highly virulent new strain of self-replicating ransomware shut down computers all over the world, in part by appropriating a national security agency exploit that was publicly released last month by a mysterious group calling itself, wait for it, shadow brokers.
So, but before we get into any detail, I guess we can get into the details, or we just cut to the chase. Because in my mind, I don't know who to be more mad at right now: the NSA for allowing this to go public, or the shadow brokers for making it public, or Microsoft for allowing something like this to go on that long that the NSA worked with them to allow to keep going, so for this stuff to kind of occur. Because this is so to kind of build on what you said, Rob, their whole mentality of living under a rock. This is just one of many. I feel like this is the second or third time the shadow brokers have dumped more NSA tools into the wild. On top of that, was it like last month the CIA had a bunch of tools or exploits released as well. And I've been waiting for this to kind of happen since all this stuff went live, which is for people to finally take that stuff and go and try and use it. And now it's starting to pan out, it looks like. But I don't. It looks like this got shut down by, and this is even crazier, by the grace of God that somebody saw that they hard-coded the domain registration directly into the code,
Yeah,
or the domain name.
I thought that was priceless. The guy that actually, so they stopped the spread of this thing because somebody at an antivirus company noticed in the code that there was a domain hard coded into the code, the malware code, and went out and he registered the domain. That the domain hadn't been registered at all, so he registered it. And what the code, the malware was set up to check to see if that domain existed, and if it did, to not propagate anymore. So he had no idea that that's what was going to happen. So it was just luck that he registered it.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling. Something in my gut tells me that this was done by somebody, not the researcher. The people that shot this into the wild were very low key. I won't call them script kiddie, but that mentality comes to my mind. And if we have people of that low level doing this much damage, I think it's just going to be more rampant when we have stuff. Because basically the NSA has hooked everyone up with some really great tools, and it sounds like it doesn't take anyone with any real experience to get them going. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I read a little bit over this story, and there was something else in here. What were they talking about? Oh, here it is. Another cause for concern. The WannaCry copies weapons-grade exploit named Eternal Blue that the NSA used for years to remotely commandeer computers running Windows. So, I mean,
so they've known about this exploit for a while.
that's for sure.
It's not a new exploit. Now the question is, did Microsoft know about it and deliberately not patch it?
Oh, I would. My conspiracy theory, Isaac says yes for sure.
You put the tinfoil hat on and you have to say yes. Other people might say, well, no. There are the fact is there are probably a bunch of things like that floating around, exploits of and bugs in various different pieces of software. You don't know whether somebody knows about them, somebody doesn't know about them. So I think it's plausible to say that this was an unknown exploit, that Microsoft didn't know about it. Because, they patched it. Well, I don't. When was it released?
Well, it says here Microsoft patched the vulnerability in March. Exactly
In
4 weeks
March, yeah.
before the shadow brokers released or slash published the NSA exploit. Now that's okay. So this is more tinfoil hat. Microsoft had to get word from the NSA that this had left the building, because there's no way that they just magically got the patch out before this went live when they've been using it for years and Microsoft hadn't done anything about it. And then suddenly Microsoft discovered it right before everybody, the mom, gets their hands on it. So
Yeah, that does seem a little bit
yeah, that's just a little too quinky dink for me.
odd. Yeah. So maybe they were talking about it ahead of time, and Microsoft said, "Oh, we know about this this thing. I wonder, what do you think? Should we? I think we'll fix it." And the NSA said, "Nah, that's really very cool. I don't know that anybody else is using it, so why don't you just leave it for a bit?" And you can always patch it later if somebody finds out. If we find out that it's being used, then you can just patch it and it'll go away. So in the meantime, just that's the conspiracy theorist kind of guy saying, "Oh yeah, they must have known about it," because the timing is a little bit
Oh yeah, it's
interesting, shall we say?
But it sounds like this WCRY or WannaCry is just another form of ransomware, which is the new big thing now hitting the scenes.
Yeah, it's one of these. We encrypt all your files, and you can send us $300 in bitcoins, and we'll send you the key.
It's a pretty low key amount, I feel like.
What was the last one of these called?
That
BitLocker or no?
Oh yeah, that was. I mean, ransomware now is just. Yeah. It's got to a point where I remember I was listening to Security Now, and Steve Gibson was talking about how they're seeing now people faking ransomware to the point where they're just, when they say they have it, they'll just pay them anyway because they don't understand what they're even getting into.
We encrypted your files. Really, we didn't, but we'll just put this thing up. Says we did. And
which brings up something I remember Steve saying, that there's businesses now that are, instead of trying to figure out the problem, the security or the ransomware, they just now set aside money in a pool to pay them when this happens. It's like, we know we're going to get hacked. We know it's going to happen. So here's the money when it does hit the fan. So
we'll just save up. We'll just pay them. It'll be all right. Really. Yeah.
So. I'm also surprised by the story. Really, that Windows XP will never die. It's never going to go away, apparently.
Well, that's really the reason that I put this in here, because of the thing on from Engadget, and I'm trying to copy it and paste it into the IRC, and it won't go in there for some reason. I don't know. It's decided to be difficult. So copy link location.
So what was it? What was after XP? Was it 7?
No, Vista.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Oh my Lord.
And then
Vista
7, and then 8, 8.1,
and now we're on 10.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And XP has been off support for, I want to say, a couple of years now. Has it been that long? It's been a long. They extended the support.
Well, they kept extending. Yeah, you're totally right.
Like forever.
Yeah.
And then finally they said, okay, well we're finally gonna kill it. And there was this big hue and cry about what about all the point of sale devices and all this stuff that was gonna break. So they went and looked at all that stuff, and finally it died, and there were going to be no more patches.
It's amazing.
Until now.
It's honestly amazing that if you're a hacker, you're writing stuff for XP still, because you're like, no one's using 8. And 7 would be the next one, and no one's using Vista. But I mean, it kills me, because
in the notion that Microsoft felt like this was a big enough deal that they had to actually issue a patch for it, which says to me that there's a bunch of these systems that were infected are actually running XP.
At the bottom of this Engadget article you posted, there's the Twitter account of the guy that stopped it, and he said he confesses that he was totally unaware that doing this would stop it. And then he also put in, I can now add, accidentally stopped an international cyber attack to my resume.
Accidentally, yeah. I thought that was really good. I didn't
accidentally
know
saved the world.
I saved the world by accident.
Yeah, I totally.
Didn't mean to do it. I was just trying to make a few bucks by registering the domain. Figured I'd sell it back to them later. Yeah. So the final chapter in this little story, and to bring it back to why does this have anything to do with us, is if you're on Linux, it just doesn't matter, right? You can
Yeah,
just ignore the whole thing.
really quick, here's a line from that Engadget 2. It doesn't even try to attack Windows 10, focusing solely on 7 and 8 and anything before that because they're still vulnerable to the attack.
Because they must have fixed it on 10 already or something, yeah. Oh, dear.
Good times. This is the beginning of crazier times that are never going to end.
Yeah, so this, I've been noodling about this ransomware stuff for a while. Just, it's sitting there perking away in the back of my mind. Because that would be a real bear, right? If you had all your stuff just suddenly get locked up so you couldn't get at it.
That you are totally correct.
So, you get thinking about most people, their backup strategy wouldn't help them. Or a lot of people. Depends on how you do your backup strategy. But you have to have a fairly sophisticated backup strategy, because a lot of people, what they do is they'll copy their files, right? So they copy all the files onto a stick. Well, what happens is that the way that these malware things work is they start encrypting your files, but you don't notice it because their little thing that's sitting in memory is transparently decrypting them for you as you access them. So you work with it, and you're working through their decryptor or encryptor gadget until it finishes all its stuff on your hard drive. And then it waits a little bit, and then it tells you. So that all of your backups, if you're making backups in the meantime, all the backups that you've been making are all encrypted as well. So if you're not careful, you end up with this big backup system that just has been backing up all your encrypted files. You have to have generational backups in order to get around this, because you have to be able to go back to before when you got infected in order to get anything back. So
sometimes I feel like I don't know, more tinfoil hat stuff. I feel like some of this ransomware is being purposely driven to push cloud stuff down our throats.
Well, so does cloud stuff help you?
Guess it depends on how much they encrypted, because I can still get to my Google Drive or whatever else is out there accounts.
Yeah, so that's right. So if it's cloud applications, I think you're right. Because, then there's nothing stored on my machine. So now you'd have to compromise the cloud application and encrypt the data files in the cloud. That's got to be harder to do. Yeah.
I guess
just get into your system. So
yeah, you're totally right though. This is just more proof of good backups. Something that I do fall short of sometimes.
Well, and a backup strategy that is simpler than just copying stuff. A lot of people just copy everything to their Dropbox. Well, if your Dropbox is mapped into your drive system like most people do it, then this encryptor thing is going to go and encrypt everything on your Dropbox too. So that's not going to help you.
Here's a question. Does having... I wouldn't know. I guess my question here is, if you get hacked on one... Say, like for me, I have Linux Mint. If I get hacked on Linux Mint, would that affect any of my other partitions? I guess it depends on the worm.
So the malware stuff normally goes in... What the ones I've seen is they go through your file system. And so it goes into any file system that the operating system can see. And companies get nailed by this because the way you typically work in a big corporation is my workstation. I've mapped a shared drive someplace in the data center that's got all my files on it, and it's mapped. It looks like a drive letter to me, and so all those files get clobbered because they're just local. The operating system treats them as if they're local files, right? So all that stuff gets nailed. But if you've got another partition, it's got a different operating system, and those files are not mounted, that file system's not mounted in whatever term or whatever way you do that for the operating system you're using, then I think these worms don't get at it because they're only looking at stuff. They walk your whole file system.
I think the the worst, going back in my past, the worst virus or worm I guess I've ever been hit with, I feel like it was that Kafiker worm that I got, and this was on a Windows box, so there was nothing else on this hard drive other than Windows. But I remember it was doing some weird stuff suddenly, and when I went to go try to download um, some antivirus, I had recently been on the AVG website until I go to help someone out with their computer. So I went to go download it. It presented me with a web page that I stared at and realized this is not the right web page, but someone had put in a lot of time and effort to make it look like the other
The
web page.
man in the middle to give you.
Oh
A
yeah, and
yeah.
I didn't check any of the links or anything, but I realized finally after staring at it, I was like, man, this looks like a really weird web page. And then it occurred to me, wow, this is serious. What I have on my computer is not goofing around. If
Yeah.
someone's done enough legwork to be like, and
Well,
that's what made me think it was the configure worm, because that was part of its MO.
yeah.
Was when you went and searched for antivirus, it gave you a website that made you think
That
you were
made
there.
you think you were there. Well,
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of email over the last couple of months, probably, that says, we've got your Amazon package. We tried to deliver your new phones and we couldn't deliver them, but we're going to bill your credit card for $900 anyway. Click here to schedule a new delivery. And you look at it, and it really is very authentic looking. And I've got my email is set up so that if I hover over a link, it shows me where it's going. And so it's obviously not going to Amazon, although it goes to Amazon dash ship or something. It goes to some website that looks Amazon-ish, but it's clearly not Amazon. And I happen to have remembered, even though I'm old, that I didn't buy a new phone. So, but they scare you like they're, we're going to hit your credit card for $900 unless you click on this link. So
You just got to be like me and have a lot of debt, That
Yeah,
way
it's
it's
like,
like,
go
hey, I
ahead.
took your account. Like, go ahead, buddy. You're
And
you
knock
are
your lights
screwed.
out. Yeah,
You don't understand what you just bought into.
I've been trying to get money out of that account for years. Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck with that one. You are now in trouble. The IRS will be there to audit you, so
Yeah,
get ready.
for sure. So Bill M.I. says that he's been, let's see, where did that go? He has mounts only for backing up. Should he make them more dynamic?
Okay, I think I'll end the podcast there. If you guys have any comments or thoughts, it goes on. The whole podcast is 1 hour and 42 minutes. It's a bit long, but I just wanted to share those that uh, comment or the conversation there on the ransomware. A couple of things I believe. One of the first versions of ransomware, I believe it was called CryptoLocker, and I think I warned about that back in 2014. I don't know how many people took it serious, but it still is serious. And they also mentioned that XP will not go away. Not good. Microsoft, in fact, it got so bad this past weekend with the ransomware attack that Microsoft was issuing updated patches on Windows XP to help stop the further spread of ransomware. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it is. It will not go away. We are safe for now in Linux. And I have to stress for now, Linux is not immune to, ransomware. It's just not a high priority target right now, but that can change. That can change in the future. I believe Mac OS has been hit briefly with malware, ransomware. Once again, who is the target audience? And it's users, Windows users, XP users, pirated OSs. A lot of the problems, I guess, came out of China and Russia. I guess they like their pirated software, from what I understand. So it's a big problem. It will not go away. So if you know anybody uses Windows, make sure. Of course, with Windows 10, one of the good things about the forced updates is it includes security patches. So you should be okay in Windows 10. And in my opinion, nobody should be using Windows XP, period. If you're trying to keep an older computer or PC going, get rid of XP and install something lightweight like Ubuntu Mate, Linux Mint Mate, or something like Ubuntu. Linux Lite, something with XFCE. If you're good with Linux, maybe try something in Arch. But yeah, Windows XP should be a big, big no-no. And ransomware, malware is one of the big reasons why, if not the major reason why, not to use any outdated OS, and that includes Linux also. So when LTSs or 9-month release cycles for Linux, when that's over, don't use it. Just upgrade the system. That's what I do. So if you guys have any other pieces of advice, let me know. And one of the questions I asked when I got started, do you know anybody that has gotten hit with ransomware? Personally, I have not, at least not yet. So once again, that website that we listen to podcasts, that was mintcast.org. It's one of the few podcasts I listen to. This one I listen to, the Ubuntu podcast, and sometimes the Linux Quest or the Destination podcast. So check those out. English Bob is using XP. He's doing fine. Okay, that's certainly his choice. But he was using Linux for a while. Has he stopped using Linux? I can't remember. This was an unscheduled live event, so not a lot of people watching. That's okay. Once I get to the habit of scheduling these, we'll probably get a lot more people, tuning in and sharing their thoughts and stuff. So I'll probably end this soon here. But if you have any other comments, guys, please let me know. So Zenaris, you were saying that somebody found one of the keys for ransomware. Oopsie, I wonder who let the cat out of the bag. It's one big cat and mouse game, isn't it, guys? So I wonder why he's using Windows XP. I know officially there are no patches for it, except this last one for like ransomware, right? I'm assuming. Is he running it in the sandbox or a virtual machine? I don't know. I just wouldn't use it, period. I mean, there's no reason to, really. Check something here on the site. Yeah, lessons learned from WannaCry attack. The cleanup continues. I'm just reading some of the headlines here, real brief here. Japan and China wake up to global ransomware cyber attack. They just woke up, huh? Okay. This is from the May 14th. Okay, all right. Interesting article. How soon until the next ransomware catastrophe? I don't know. China warns of new ransomware-like virus. Really? Interesting. Companies stockpiling Bitcoin in anticipation of ransomware attacks. Okay, guess we got a market for something. He likes sticking it to the man. Okay. Hard metal for EB. Oh well. Let me click this reel here from China, what they're saying here. Chinese authorities warned computer users of the risk of a new cyber attack by a virus similar to WannaCry that has affected over 150 countries. The National Virus Emergency Response Center and software company Asia Info on Wednesday detected the UIWix virus, which is spreading in a similar way like the WannaCry or ransom. I'm telling you guys, this will never end. Never. Ars Technica. Okay, let me go to there real quick. So Ars, give me a second. It's another website that I do occasionally like to, check the latest news and stuff. And let's see, just scrolling down here. Windows XP PCs infected by can be decrypted without paying a ransom. What a bargain. It says here decryption tool is of limited value because XP was unaffected by last week's worm. Oh, okay. Interesting. So it says here last week, WCry attacked 200,000 computers. Wow. I wonder how much the hackers made total. Yeah, Zanaris. Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. All that work they did, what was their net profit, as it were? I'm just curious. There was something on the NPR radio news that apparently there was a support forum or support setup for, how can I put it, customers who were having trouble decrypting their files, and they were negotiating how much to pay the fee, the so-called fee to decrypt their files. That is so funny. Anyway, Don McCullough, what's up, man? Welcome to the Unscheduled Live Show. If you're just joining in, I had played back about a 20-minute podcast audio clip from mintcast.org talking about ransomware. So, Don, if you ever get a chance, Don, check out mintcast.org. It's a bi-weekly show podcast. I think they live stream on YouTube too, but from the Linux Mint community. The last figure, 50,000. That's all, Zanaris? 50,000 for a global hit? That doesn't sound like much. No, doesn't sound like much at all. Huh. Well, I guess they have to pay for overhead, right? Servers, all that stuff, bandwidth. I guess all the expenses add up. That still doesn't sound like a lot, though. Yeah. 50,000. I don't know. Okay, if that's what you saw, but that still sounds really low. So, Don, what Linux distro are you using now? And do you know anybody that's been hit with ransomware? Has anybody else taken that poll for the Ubuntu desktop team to fine-tune the GNOME desktop? So anyway. All right, just a few more minutes, guys, and I will end it for tonight. Thanks for joining in on an unscheduled live event. If you missed anything, you can just play this back. I'll keep it up. I won't do any kind of editing for this or anything like that. Again, it's the website is mintcast.org, one of the websites that I listen to, one of the podcasts I listen to, in addition to the Ubuntu podcast. And sometimes I'll listen to Destination Linux. So check out mintcast.org from the Linux Mint community. Okay, yeah, I'm going to end it here. So everybody have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one. Okay. Take care, Joe. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, if you missed this, just go and replay this. We were just listening to the piece of the mintcast.org podcast. They talked a little bit about ransomware. It's one of the few podcasts that I listen to, Joe, in addition to the Ubuntu podcast and Destination Linux. So, Joe, take a listen to that. You might find it interesting. The entire podcast, I didn't play the entire podcast. It's an hour and 42 minutes. I think I played about 15, 20 minutes, Joe. So if you want to check it out when I'm done with this, take a listen and let me know what you think. But once again, that website is mintcast.org. Okay, that's all I have for this one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.